It is me, Erin Wheelock of the Wheelock Team, your favorite real estate associate broker at Keller Williams in New York City. We are helping families and people from all over the world, all over the entire world, to relocate to New York City, whether it's for your first home, full-time relocation, or just a second vacation home. We look forward to helping you. And today, we're gonna go over one of my favorite topics, new construction. We're gonna go over the pros and cons of buying in new construction. New construction, it's fabulous, it's beautiful, especially right now in New York City. It's like every architect is thinking, how much higher can we go? What design can we get away with? It's fabulous, I love it. And there's a lot of pros and some cons when you're gonna buy in some new development and new construction. So let's go over those today, shall we? Let's start with taxes. Get it out of the way, right? Okay, so when the developer is building this new property, what happens is the tax assessor comes by, right? Every year in July, they come and they reassess the building for taxes. Now the thing is, when it's being built, that's the state it's in. So when they end up getting their taxes for the units, it hasn't been reassessed yet for the completed product, which means you should always make sure that you are double checking to see if they have projected taxes, because sometimes it can double. The closing process in new development, there's a lot of pros and cons here. All right, a big pro, you don't have to do a board package. I know that it's not the hardest thing in the world, and quite frankly, we're the ones that do most of it for you, but you do have to supply a lot of documents. So after you end up going into contract for new construction, you're really just waiting for your bank to approve and for it to be able to close. Which brings me to a con. Closing date. That can be a con, or it can be a pro. If you get in early while the building is still being built, it could be a con, especially if you have a deadline to get in. And here's why. Just like I've said in previous videos, the closing date is not the closing date. I don't know, I don't make the rules. But in new construction, it tends to make more sense. And here's why. During the process of the developer building, these 85, 90, however many stories tall building, there's gonna be things that change in terms of the rules and regulations that they have to follow for your property to be signed off on by the Department of Buildings, which might mean that they put everything in and all of a sudden, oops, something's changed. So when the inspector comes back, they have to redo everything, because at the end of the day, they can't close until everything is signed off on by the Department of Buildings. And then you gotta go in, do a punch list to make sure it's beautiful and perfect, and then go in, make sure all that beautiful and perfect punch list was taken care of, and then you get to close. But when I say delay, I mean, you can expect sometimes for it to take 4, 5, 6, 7 months. Usually it'll be 1 to 2 months after. A lot of times when you're purchasing a new construction and you give a closing date, they'll say Q1 of 2023 or Q4 of 2022. They're not gonna tell you December 15th of this year. So just be aware that that closing date, especially new construction, is not the closing date and could be pushed out for some time. Pro. If the building is already built and you're getting new construction, you can have one of the fastest closings in New York City, especially if you're cash. You could actually close within 30 days. Because again, there's no board package. All you're doing is getting your money together. And if it's already done and built, that's a pro. You can close right away and move on into your new home. Con. When you are buying in new construction in New York City, the sponsor of the building does expect you to pay their closing costs. That is approximately 2% in taxes and for their attorney fee. There's also going to be some other costs. Usually there's going to be a contribution to the reserves, which is 1 to 2 months, could be more depending upon the building. There also may be a fee that you have to pay towards a management apartment or a super's apartment. Every building is going to have different closing fees depending upon how big the building is, how many amenities they have, what the staff is going to be like. However, just know that your closing costs are going to be higher. Now, when you work with the professionals at the Wheelock Team, we will do everything we can to make sure that that seller is paying their own closing costs. But you do have to go into it just with the understanding that the sponsor is expecting you to pay, of course, full ask, if not more, and all of their closing costs. Financing. When you're financing in new development, just be prepared that if you're one of the first people getting in, they're going to have their own banks that they are recommending to you because they already have an agreement and the bank is funding it. Down payment, kind of a con. They're usually going to require 20% down, 10% at contract signing, and they're gonna ask for another 10%. They don't always give you that standard condo down payment of just 10%. A lot of them are requiring closer to 20% down. Pro and con, it's new development, which means you are the first person living in it. So this is gonna be one time when you go through a walkthrough, you're gonna make a punch list and you can say, there's a nick here, this isn't working, there's a nick here, a scratch on the floor here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And guess what? They're gonna fix it for you. Why? Because it's brand new construction. It's gonna be gorgeous when you move in. Con, you're the first person living there. And just like buildings, anywhere else in the world, sometimes they settle. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes budgets change during the construction process. So you could end up getting into a building where 6 months down the road, you're starting to have elevator problems. You may be in a building where 3 months down the road, the HVAC system is having issues. You just have to be aware that a new construction building in New York City is just like a new build anywhere. There's gonna be some settling, there's gonna be some things that happen from it being used, and you may end up having to pay for it or be without an elevator for a little bit or have some AC or heat problems for a little bit. That's just the nature of the beast with new construction. If you are getting into a new construction project early enough and you want to be on a board, well, that's great news because you have the opportunity to step up and get on the board a bit easier than if you're getting into a resale property. That way, you can help make up what the rules are going to be for your building. And I always think if you're somebody that wants to be a part of it, help make the rules, help make the decisions of how your building is going to run, it's a great opportunity to get on that board if you're purchasing in new construction. Well, thank you for listening in on the pros and cons of new development. And if you want to look, we have more videos that are showing you what you can get at 100 Barclay, the Iris, the Jolie. There's lots of new development on there for you to check out. And of course, if you want to see any of it, reach out to us. We would love to help you.